everybody to NEGU TV, the family edition. My name is Erik Reese, and I get the honor of being Jessie's daddy and helping run the Jessie Reese Foundation as we strive to encourage kids, super sibs, and families to never, ever give up. And we are so honored to have the Hamlin family with us today. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming on NEGU TV today. Tell us a little bit about yourself and about your courageous family.
So I'm Joe. I'm Joshua's dad.
I'm Vanessa, and I'm Joshua's mom.
So Joshua, he was diagnosed with ALL, B-cell leukemia, when he was about 4.5 years old. He was doing well. He had a hard time getting into remission the first time, but he finally made it. It was a good Christmas present for us because it was a couple days before Christmas when we got the news, and that was back in 2017. And everything was going relatively well. I mean, there's always ups and downs with treatment, but this past February we got news he had a CNS, so it's a central nervous system relapse, where they found cells in his spinal fluid.
Okay.
So that was February. So we kind of got hit hard and started the journey all over again. But we're on a new path, and we're holding up, you know.
Yeah.
Thanks to people like you and your organization, and you know, our daughter Delilah, she's 10. She's a super sib, and we have a new addition to the family. Well, not so new now. He's a year old, but he's running around and having a good time, and
what's
that's
his
pretty
name?
awesome. That is Joseph. He's
Joseph.
actually the third. Yeah. But it's nice to have him around too, because you know he has no clue what's going on,
Right.
and he's just a baby, and he's just laughing and running around, and you know, so it's a great addition.
That's so great. So Joshy was roughly four when he was diagnosed?
Yeah, about 4.5.
4.5. And how old is Joshy today?
He turned 7 in April.
Wow. So you guys have been in the fight, and you've been on the roller coaster, and you've come up, down, and now you're trying to figure out what's next due to what has just recently happened.
Yes.
Yeah, and
He's back in treatment now.
Yeah, and that was pretty hard because you know, you start looking forward, because we're getting towards the end, right? He would have been done this year in December. He would have been end of treatment, and we even had an opportunity where we were asked if we wanted to have his port removed, because he was so close to the end and doing well. But thankfully we didn't. So that was a little rough. But yeah, we're starting anew, and we're as hard as it was, I think we were a little bit better prepared this time around, just because we've been through that initial shock, you know.
Yeah. Well, obviously you guys are always in our thoughts and prayers, and will continue to be, and we'll always be there for you guys as you fight this next battle, this next round. How has Jessie's phrase NEGU, what has that meant to you guys personally? What do you think it's meant to your family as you guys have gone through the journey with Joshy and your other children?
Yeah, so we've actually embraced NEGU like as our cancer slogan. Joshy says NEGU for everything. Mostly cancer, of course, because that's what he connects it to. But when he's at the hospital, Joshua's very friendly. He always wants to make friends. He has what we call OPI buddies at the outpatient infusion center. And he never says cancer. He's always like, is that a NEGU kid? Is that a NEGU kid? And I'm like, yes, honey, they're all NEGU kids. So if you just meet NEGU friends and tell them about NEGU. I know I've said early on, NEGU is the first foundation I reached out to. Someone just told me about it, and I just wanted to make Josh happy, and I didn't know how. I felt like my world was falling apart, and NEGU lifted Joshy's spirits when we couldn't, because as parents, it's just heartbreaking to hear your child has cancer. You don't know how to help them. And NEGU just kind of came in at the right time in our lives, thankfully early on. And I would just put those little videos for Josh. Mr. Mo became his best friend. And now the funny thing is, if he can't find his tablet, he'll tell me, Mom, look for my tablet, and never ever give up.
Oh, wow. Yeah, the app, getting the Mr. Mo is the, most popular personality on our app. It's crazy how many kids reply to him.
Joshua replies to him, and our daughter recently did a book for school, and I wanted to mention in her, what would you call it? In her dedication, she put, "This is for Joshie, who encourages me to never ever give up."
Oh, wow.
And that's that term. I mean, never ever give up. That slogan or the mantra, whatever you want to call it. Like for Josh, and another thing about that, and when he talks about, he identifies as a NEGU kid, and we've never wanted to like have. I mean, we rarely use the word cancer, around.
We didn't
Even when, yeah, and even when one time he said it to his sister, and kind of, we heard him, and they were playing, and she's like, Delilah, you're supposed to let me win. I have cancer, and we were like, whoa, no, you're not thinking like that, right? And so, but Josh has never wanted to. He's never identified with that. He doesn't want to be seen as like, oh, I'm like the cancer kid at school, or I'm like, this is what I have. So he's kind of flipped that, and NEGU has been what he's held on to be able to say, like, I'm a NEGU kid. Mm-hmm. And we know what he says, or like when he calls somebody else like a NEGU kid, we know what he's referring to, but it's given him and then us the ability to just kind of push that word aside, or that, and everything that comes along with it. And we're left with like, hey, like, yeah, you're a NEGU kid, right? And so that's what's been something awesome, I think, for Josh, and just, I mean, the whole family in general, but especially Josh, just to be able to go on with everything he's got going on, and that is what he identifies as. And what better to have him wanting to identify with the term never ever give up.
Yeah. So what? Obviously, because we've been able to journey with you guys and be part of your encouragement team for a couple years. What was it like when Joshie would get like a joy jar in the mail or anything from us? Like, what is the experience? Because obviously we work so hard to pack it perfect and make sure it's clean and sanitized and sealed and boxed and shipped, but we're never there to like see the openings. I always like to just wonder, what's it like?
Oh, those are his favorite days. He's gotten them at home for his year of joy. And then, like you said, he's been in treatment almost 3 years. So sometimes he'll win one in bingo, and it's like the best day ever. Like, he just lights up. And like you said, it's perfect. Children like blind bags nowadays. So NEGU jars are full. It's a full surprise. So everything he pulls out is always his favorite, and he hugs onto everything. And sometimes he tries to give some to his sister. He shares with everyone. He just loves joy jars. And I think I mentioned earlier, for Christmas this year, he made us all joy jars. So we packaged them up, we put jars by the tree, and we all joined in like putting surprises. So on Christmas, we all had a joy jar to open, and it was Josh sharing that joy with us, because it means so much when NEGU sends it to him. Wow. And he even included his grandma. So he included mom, dad, Delilah, baby, and then I made his. And he just wanted everyone to experience that joy. I mean, I was in tears at my 6-year-old then had this idea to bring joy to his family, because NEGU does that to him.
And for some more perspective, he didn't care about presents. It wasn't about, hey, well, let's get presents. He was like, hey, instead of presents, let's do joy jars. I mean, and for a 6-year-old kid at the time to just say, I don't want big presents and this and that. That's how much the joy jars mean to them. And just, getting something in the mail and it says NEGU on it, and then it has his name, and they just light up. So it's awesome. And it's awesome for parents to be able to see that, right? Because, and just the way, God works is you guys happen to send things at the perfect time. And it's like a rough day, or get a bad day at clinic or what have you, and getting accessed and to get home, and there's a joy jar waiting for him. So it's amazing.
Wow, those are so incredible stories, and would have loved to have been seeing his Christmas joy jars. What a super spirit he has. Such a caring kid for others in the midst of his own battle. Sounds like Jessie so much. So, it's interesting when people are talking to me about COVID and quarantining, or wearing masks and, having to physically distance, because I just always reminded me of like when Jess was fighting cancer. That was just like the normal thing you do.
Yeah.
So people like sometimes are freaking out about it. I was like, you know what? Courageous kids and families, this is how they have to live to protect their son or daughter due to the compromised immune systems and all that kind of stuff. So has COVID really, and the quarantining really impacted you guys, or has it kind of felt pretty much the normal way of life?
I mean, in that sense, no, obviously, because like you said, exactly, we've always been social distancing. I mean, you know, even with family, hey, close friend, have you been sick? Where you last? Hey, don't come over.
Right.
All those little things. I think the way it has affected us though is the ability to get some of those things that I guess they would call now PPE that we've been using for years, right? Masks, just little surgical masks or face coverings and gloves and hand sanitizer or hand soap. And luckily we've kind of had that stuff on hand. So when it got kind of crazy at the beginning and didn't find anything, we still had a little, I guess you would say, stockpile, because, you know, you just build up all these, you know, and even, you know, different organizations. And like you guys, there's little things of hand sanitizer or what have you. So that was difficult to just get those supplies that we relied on, you know, just, hey, we're going to go to the store or we're going to go to Target with Josh and we know his counts are low and he's, hey, put a mask on and what. So that was difficult. You know, I think some of it too, just getting simple things like, you know, when kids are fighting cancer and their taste buds are out of whack. And Josh, you know, one day he likes this food and next week he doesn't. And so trying to, you know, we'd always find ourselves like, hey, I got to run to the store and try to get this. Cause at the end of the day, you just want your kid to eat. And so that was a little difficult too, because, you know, you had limited resources as far as getting into the stores, or now realizing, man, I have to go to the store packed with all these people because everyone's kind of freaking out at the time about, you know, about the COVID stuff.
Yeah, that and toilet paper was like the big thing.
Yeah.
And Joshua relapsed on February 11th, 2020. I immediately went to the hospital with him. He was hospitalized for a month. We got out on Friday the 13th. It was March 13th. And the day we got out, I was almost like, I was living with my son for a month, saving his life. So we got out and COVID broke out, and that's the day schools closed. So I got out like, what kind of world am I getting out to?
Yeah.
I was so, like, I don't want to say sheltered at Chalk, but I didn't know what was going on until I got home and like called Joe, like, do we have toilet paper? Like, do we have the stuff we need? Like, I've been away for a month and I came home to like no more school, which for us was a blessing in disguise, because now we don't have to send my daughter to potentially get exposed and bring it back to Josh.
Yeah, that helped out. And I think the other hard thing is just impact on us as parents is, you know, the way the hospitals are, it's, you know, there's one parent at bedside at a time. And just even trying to, you know, if I'm trying to take supplies or take something to eat, she has to come down, leave Josh alone. I have to drop it off. And then with me at work, and I work, you know, I'm a police officer. So that's hard too, because we could have switched out, but then who knows what you're getting exposed to at work. And it's hard to now, hey, I want to stay there. So that was a little more difficult too on that end, especially with Josh being inpatient so much. And I mean, I just the mental aspect of it, you know, just being stuck in that hospital. And I think at some point they weren't even really allowed to walk the halls and kind of get out and go outside, which makes being inpatient a little easier sometimes, just to get some fresh air.
Yeah.
So that was another more.
Yeah, that's actually been really hard. The playrooms are closed. There's no volunteers. It's been really hard being inpatient during COVID.
Yeah, we've actually seen a big increase in Joy Jar orders from hospitals because they don't have the community that can come in and put in the activities or go to the playrooms and do activities and the painting and the crafts and all that kind of stuff right now. And so, like, you know, right now we've got orders for over 4,000 Joy Jars because these hospitals are being impacted just because they can't let people in.
Yeah.
So let's assume some other family that has a courageous child is watching our little conversation today. what would you say to a family that unfortunately is in the boat that none of us wants to be in, but they're in the boat, and how would you encourage them to at least consider, being part of our community and, allowing the Jessie Reese Foundation to come alongside of them and encourage them, and hopefully, obviously, their courageous child and their entire family during the time of, such stress and anxieties going on?
Yeah. So I would say, obviously, to please do it, to please apply. We're here for you. We are you. And I've actually done this a few times where I reach out to people like to apply for NEGU, and I've heard families tell me like, I feel like somebody needs it more. And I'm like, no, I felt the same way. And NEGU is different. You're finding all the kids that need this encouragement. And I tell them it's joy for your child. And when I explain exactly what NEGU is, they are all about it, so thankful. And then they'll email me back like, I did it. So I feel like Joshie and me are like on this search to find all the NEGU families and kind of bring them, because sometimes, honestly, people ask me, how do you do it? Well, the first time he was diagnosed, I didn't do it. I kind of shut everyone out. I didn't leave my house for a year. But I can tell you that what's different this time is community. That's how I do it. Support, leaning in, like letting NEGU love us has been so incredible, not only for Joshua, but for our entire family.
And there's something to be said about just being able to connect with people that are, you can always empathize with people and stuff, but
yeah,
when you've been in the situation, and somebody tells you, a doctor, that, hey, your child has cancer, there's no real words to describe that. And so being able to just connect with other families and parents and that are going through the same thing, it's a world of difference. But more importantly, that's for us as parents, but when we've seen what it does for Josh, I want every kid that is fighting cancer to be able to have that joy that comes along with the joy jar, just, be on the NEGU app or what have you, and that support that you guys give. And that's one thing that's truly amazing. And honestly, we didn't even in the beginning seek out. Her brother actually had participated in a joy drive or joy jar drive or something. The month prior to maybe Josh getting diagnosed.
Oh, wow.
So he had told her like, hey, I think his company was down the street from where you guys are. And so he had told her, hey, I just did this thing, and this organization, NEGU, and because that's the last thing from your mind, right? You're thinking like, what
you're trying to survive.
Yeah, with finances, insurance, all these things, and the last thing you think is like, oh, let me reach out to an organization that have no clue what they really do. And so that's where, I think it's, and the way it's changed us and helped us and Josh, I think that's where that, especially with Vanessa, that real motivation to go out there and just really seek out other families, because it could be life-changing.
It's like when you do the hand thing, I always tell their families, I need you, do you? And then,
well, thank you, Vanessa and Joshie, for being, and obviously Joe too, but for being such ambassadors and helping more people. I remember when Jess was fighting cancer, she'd always say, Daddy, I feel lonely and limited. Mm-hmm. And that always is still in my mind when I'm thinking about other families, because you do start to feel alone. You do start feeling limited by your ability, because you want to fix your kid, you want to cure them, but it's in somebody else's hands. And so we've always just believed that if you can just pour love on the feelings of loneliness and being limited, it's a good thing for us to do, is to just try to bring some sense of love and encouragement in the midst of a lot of chaos.
Yeah.
So does Joshie play, does he play sports? Obviously not right now, but what does he like sports?
Yeah, so he played t-ball actually only one season, because again, he was diagnosed at 4.5, so he was the youngest on his team. He was only 3 years old. Then he turned 4 in April in the spring, so he played that season. It was an awesome team with his cousins. Dad was the coach. And then he was diagnosed that summer. So he's only played one season of t-ball, but he did love it. and he can't wait to play again.
Does he have a favorite baseball player?
I would say it's Mike Trout.
Mike Trout.
Yeah, and he so and it's funny because for us, baseball has been able to be something that, you know, he played t-ball, and then we got hooked up with the Fullerton the Titans, Cal State Fullerton Titans. So he's part of the team with a different organization.
He's a team impact child.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so that theme has been there. And then, you know, Child Life hooked Josh up to be, was it the Bat Kid?
Bat Boy.
The Bat Boy at Angel Stadium. And he got to meet, you know, Mike Trout. And so that was awesome. So that's kind of been a cool little theme and something Josh has been able to connect to, and just, you know, being able to run out on the field and some of those things. Awesome.
Well, we can't wait for the day to come and cheer him on when he's back on the field.
Yeah.
We love you guys, and we're just so grateful that you allow us to be part of your encouragement team. And we'll continue to keep you guys and Joshy in our thoughts and prayers. And just know we're always here. Jan is obviously always, you know, available, and we just never want you guys to feel alone, and just want you to feel loved. And so hopefully you will continue to feel that encouragement from us, no matter how long this lasts for you guys. But just, we love you.
We love you
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you. You and your staff, your family are incredible.
Well, thank you. We're grateful to, as we tell the team every day, we get to do this. And we're honored to be able to come alongside courageous families like you guys and just provide some level of encouragement and love and joy in the midst of a lot of other things going on. So stay safe. Let us know if there's anything we can do for you. And just, we love you guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.